By now, you've probably heard about the million-euro investment into the GNOME project made by the Sovereign Tech Fund. But who in the world is that? Well, they are a tech fund from the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Protection, or for the German viewers, whatever this says. A fairly new entity which many of you, and myself included, hadn't ever heard of before, but this is not the first time they've invested in something. Last year, they gave money to the Curl project. They've given money to Ruby Gems, OpenSSH, WireGuard, and a bunch of the projects listed over on their technologies page, including Fortran, which they say is modernizing an established programming language to become more performant and user-friendly for scientific communities. Now, I'm not involved in that space, but if you are, is Fortran still an actively used language? I would love to know. And as it says on their mission page, our goal is to support the development, improvement, and maintenance of open digital infrastructure. Our goal is to sustainably strengthen the open source ecosystem. We focus on security, resilience, technological diversity, and the people behind the code. And when they said they're going to invest in GNOME, GNOME also released a blog post, a press release, whatever you want to call it. GNOME recognized as public interest infrastructure. But the one part that I want to focus on is the goals they have for the investment. This investment will fund the following projects until the end of 2024. Improve the current state of accessibility. Design and prototype a new accessibility stack. Encrypt user home directories individually. Modernize secret storage. Increase the range and quality of hardware support. Invest in quality assurance and developer experience. Expand and broaden free desktop APIs. Consolidate and improve platform components. Now, if I'm being honest, these are fairly vague project goals, with the exception of this one. If a new stack exists, that's easily quantifiable, and encrypting user home directories individually, that's also easy to say, yes, that was done, no, it wasn't done. Most of the rest of these are like, you know, you can hand wave away how you've improved it. But even though it's not 2024 yet, the funding is already having a positive effect. This is entry 123 of This Week in GNOME, infrastructure work, and there is this whole section on Sovereign Tech Fund. As part of our initiative, funded by the Sovereign Tech Fund, a number of community members have been hard at work for the past weeks. Starting now, we will send a weekly update of our progress on thisweek.gnome.org, the site we're on right now. Starting with home encryption. Adrian Vovk, I'm going to say, added support for systemd homed in account service. This is the first step towards safer encryption and a nicer user experience. Sam Hewitt is working with Adrian on the designs and task definitions for home encryption. I don't believe I've done a video on systemd homed. I remember when it first came out, a lot of people were freaking out like, oh my god, systemd is gonna take over our home directory. Systemd is evil. It's not what the deal is at all. It's actually a really useful thing. So the way that I understand it is it separates your human user account from the rest of the system. So normally when you make a user account, it is very, very tied to that system. You have metadata all over the root directory. But with this solution, all of that data is stored in one location called your identity. Things like your account password, the groups you're in, your UID, and all of this other stuff. By having this in one location, it makes the account incredibly portable. Now, this feature is mainly beneficial in the server space, but it also does have applications on the desktop. Plus, you get optional nice things like home user encryption. So if you say log out of your system or you lock the screen, you can have your home directory encrypted. Next up, we have XDG Desktop Portal. Georgia Stavrakis and Hubert Figure, I'm going to say I'm really bad with names, are improving existing portals, doing various maintenance tasks on the project, and introducing some exciting new portal APIs, such as the USB portal. Things that have already landed include drag and drop of folders will now work with sandboxed applications. I have no idea how that wasn't already working. Some bug fixes in the document portal, notably the one preventing ejection of USB flash drives and the one preventing using SQLite 3 databases, and expanded the website and developer documentation. The new USB portal is already capable of the following: creating and monitoring apps using USB devices through the portal. It has a permission to control which apps are allowed to use the portal. In the works is accessing USB devices with per device, per app permissions. The USB portal is something that I'm really interested to see. We are very much moving towards having an actual permission system available on the Linux desktop. With this portal, you can say, okay, I have an app here. It is only allowed to access this USB device, and this USB device. Because right now, if an application just wants to access your webcam, it's allowed to do that. As for glib, nothing that special, just some general maintenance work. Then we have secret management. Currently, GNOME is in the process of moving away from the GNOME keyring over to another project called 007. Now, I am not sure of the issues with the GNOME keyring and why they want to move. What I do know is this is where they're eventually going to be. Then we have CSS variables in GTK. Alice is adding CSS variables, aka custom property support, to GTK, and that's great. But I have one very simple question. Why is this a feature addition in 2023? And why was support for this not here a long time ago? I don't even remember when these were added to CSS, but it's been a while. They've been around in various different forms since 1999, and then in SCSS since 2010, but the W3C spec is originally from 2012. It's taken a while, just a little bit of time. Next we have shell and compositor performance. Ivan is improving the GNOME shell / motor profiling instrumentation and adding integration for the Tracy profiler. As part of this, he already discovered several actionable performance bugs thanks to modder maintainers. Some of those have fixes pending or merged. If you would like to go and read through those yourself, feel free to go and do so. It's kinda crazy, right? When you have better performance profiling, you start noticing where the performance problems actually are. A lot of people think they can just see the performance issues and start optimizing things that don't need to be optimized. Then you get a profiler and you realize, oh, that is 0.0001% of my performance issue, and there's this thing over here that is a much bigger deal that actually has a way to address it. Next up, notifications. Julian Sparber and Jonas are working on improving notifications, both in terms of platform APIs and user interface. As part of this, Julian is implementing grouping notifications by app in GNOME Shell. So normally if you have a bunch of notifications from something like Telegram, you would just have a wall of notifications. Now, they can all be collapsed into one little group. This is not a new concept. Android does this, iOS does this, KDE does this, Budgie does this. Most things outside of GNOME already do this, but recently it was also added into the Cosmic Desktop, and I kind of wonder if maybe that acted as a more recent inspiration to do this, because Pop! OS is building Cosmic to move away from GNOME, so there's still going to be a lot of GNOME design inspirations in the Cosmic project. So maybe, I don't know, I could just be overthinking it, but I have a feeling that somebody saw that and were like, hey, maybe we should finally do that. And improvements to GNOME online accounts. Honest question. Does anybody actually use GNOME online accounts? I would like to know, because I'm not, what? I don't understand what the benefit is. Something I do understand the benefit of is accessibility. Sam Hewitt has fixed some accessibility issues in the GNOME Shell style sheet. Joanne Diggs is reducing technical debt in the Orca screen reader, improving documentation, and rewriting table and table cell support. Better screen reader support is great, and I'll never say don't do that. But there is one thing that's being missed by so many desktops: strong global hotkey systems and ways to control your cursor without using a mouse. There is this X11 project I saw a long time ago where it can split your screen into a bunch of grids, and you can press keys and it will instantly jump your cursor to that part of the screen. I don't think anything like that right now is even possible on Wayland. Finally, hardware support. Jonas is working on hardware-accelerated screencasts and improvements to the Linux Bluetooth stack. Emmanuel Gil Perrot is adding support for GLKHR robustness in Mutter. It allows the session to recover from a GPU crash. This is a requirement to unlock new graphical features that aren't well tested with GPU drivers. This, I think, is really cool. It would be nice if your GPU drivers just never crashed. Sometimes, things happen, especially if you're from a certain green company with proprietary drivers that Linus Torvalds once insulted, maybe multiple times. Yeah, having this is nice. Whether you like GNOME or not is completely irrelevant. All of these features, at least in my opinion, are really good changes. They might be small changes, and maybe they won't really affect you on a day-to-day basis, but they are all nice to see. And hopefully over the year, we see some other big changes that are made possible thanks to this extra funding. And hopefully some other desktops out there also manage to get some extra funding that I'm sure they would really appreciate. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you make use of GNOME? Do you think this funding is going to get some really cool things done? Or do you wish that somebody else got it? I would love to know. So if you liked the video, go like the video. And if you really liked the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe to LibreoPay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and I'm going to GNOME away. Sorry, I can't think of a good one. Bye.
Like this.